Okay, everybody, welcome back to another episode of F1 My Life with Cam, Priya, and Milo. We're restarting this a couple times because we got the names of we're getting the names of the Grand Prix mixed
I'm
up.
telling you guys, someone send me a map.
But it's like because it's like there's so many different names for so many different races, and like they're all like Eastern European countries, and they're hard to kind of keep track of. So this is for the Dutch Grand Prix, which we just watched.
Correct. Yes, we did just watch it.
Well, not just watched it, but
we literally just watched it, and this is where we are.
And I guess this is good timing for several reasons, but we'll get into that. But
pretty straightforward race.
What did you think?
It was really interesting. So what I was saying before we did our seventh restart is that it started out with two bits of news, both surrounding Kimi Räikkönen. So Kimi first, before this race, came out by saying that he will be retiring at the end of this year, which is huge news, right? Because Kimi is one of the oldest people on the grid. We have neighbors who have children, by the way, in case the mics can pick that up. Milo's really insanely concerned about
Milo
them.
wants to go out there and play.
No, Milo's terrified for them. So he came out saying that he was retiring, which I think is huge news, which we've wanted to talk about before.
I think that's a long time coming.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
Kimi has been needing to retire for a minute.
Okay, so what do I always say about this? It's those I always say beer goggles, but that's actually not the word. That's not the phrase I'm trying to use. It's when you're in high school and you hated high school, and then you're about to graduate, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to miss high school. It's kind of like that. I've been saying the same thing about Kimi Räikkönen needing to be out of F1, giving more young F2 drivers or other drivers an opportunity to, be in the front 20. But now that he's leaving, a part of my high school goggles are coming on, and I'm
What do you mean?
I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss his blanket face. I love some of the memes that people put up, what can you name 3 turns at this place, and he was turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. He's exactly, Kimi is unapologetically himself, and I just think it's so cool. But then we started this Grand Prix, the Dutch Grand Prix, by knowing that he wasn't going to be in the Grand Prix because he tested positive for COVID-19. So Robert Kubica. Yeah. Sorry, Robert. He was replacing him. Yeah. So I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah.
So that's how we said that. I think that was the big thing about the Grand Prix.
I suppose.
To start out.
I mean, because when it comes to Alfa Romeo, you're not really gonna. They're a lower grid team, right? You're not really expecting much. I mean, it's cool that Kubica stepped in, but okay.
I wish it was Hulkenberg, but I understand why it wasn't.
Yeah.
A part of me was Grosjean, you coming back for a minute? What's going on?
I don't know if he can actually because he's with another team. I think you have to be a reserve on a reserve driver for F1. He drives for another. I think he's for what is it? GT? No, what is it? What did you drive for? Grosjean. I know what the car is, but I can't remember what the name.
That's okay.
I can see it in my head, but I can't remember the name
That's
of
helpful
what it is.
For our podcast.
Yeah, that's great. It's an F1 podcast, man, not every other motorsport podcast.
No, but I think you're right. I would have been. It's Kevin Magnussen probably can't come either. Yeah. Haven't heard about that guy in a while.
I mean, they have to keep their license going.
On
it has
file.
to be valid and everything, right, for them to race.
It would have been so sick if Hulkenberg had come back. I love him.
But yeah, I mean, Kimi retiring was honestly a long time coming and very much expected. I think he's up there, man. He needs to retire for sure.
Doesn't need to retire. It's just I think it's a good idea for him to retire. I think that's very ageist otherwise, But no, it's really nice to see that there was an open spot, which we'll get to later on.
But the race itself, so if we look at it, so Kimi was out, Kubica's in. Qualifying, we had Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas, Gasly, Leclerc, Sainz, both Ferraris, right? Giovinazzi, where are you coming from, bro? Ocon, Alonso, and Ricciardo. Yeah. And then the back half is Russell, Stroll, and then Norris. And 13th,
Norris had a horrible qualifying.
Latifi, Tsunoda, who's been a little disappointing this year. Perez in 16th, which sucks too. Vettel, Kubica, and then the two Haas's, Mick Schumacher and Mazepin on the bottom.
I saw this hilarious meme about Hamilton and Max fighting for first, and then Mazepin and Schumacher fighting for like who's not last. And it was like a Star Wars reference, like the first one, like for Max and for Hamilton, and then the last one was just like a very funny joke. I'll have to show you it later. It was pretty funny.
That's
like
kind of how it goes.
It really is.
That's kind of how it goes.
Yeah, they had like a issue during qualifying. It was like Mazepin was like, well, it was my turn to go first and not be last this time. And we're just like, nobody cares. Like literally nobody cares. I have no respect for him as a driver. And Mazepin? My daily rant about Nikita Mazepin. But qualifying just like saw a lot of like the top standards kicked out. Like Norris didn't qualify properly. Perez didn't qualify properly. I think you said Daniel Ricciardo didn't either.
Ricciardo was in 10th.
10th, okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was like we're seeing that like very like slow undertake of Gasly. Like he just continues to be in 4th and just do really well there.
Gasly's interesting.
Yeah.
He's performing like decently well.
Yeah.
No one's really talking about Gasly.
No, they're not.
I don't know why there's no conversation. I mean, we have podcasts. I guess we can talk about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's been showing like a lot of like
flashes of light.
Yeah, a lot of promise this year, especially. And you look at Tsunoda, who is like on the bottom of the grid. Why are you laughing so hard?
Because Milo's just
I hope to God that the mics are picking that up, because there's no way you can describe what like.
I just want you to like video grab like Milo's face when that happens and just like make it into a little.
He's like showing what we're thinking.
He's like, what is going on? He's like, what are they doing to those humans?
He's just like, where do you guys live?
Oh, he's just chilling out now. You really need a puppy cam. He just curls into this little ball, and he's like, just keep me safe.
You can kind of see it on the video there if somebody's watching the video.
Hi, Bubby.
Anyway, let's continue. So Tsunoda is like driving the same car, and maybe it's a question of driver skill, but I don't know. I feel like the theme of this year has it hasn't been entirely, but for a few drivers, it's been like letdowns.
Flat.
Like Vettel, Tsunoda.
Vettel's actually been doing better than he was last year for Ferrari, but in an Aston Martin. Like, no, I disagree with that one.
Yeah, I mean.
And you can't hate on Vettel.
Yeah, I mean he's done well in some races, but for the most part,
Stroll has been flat. Stroll himself has been flat.
I don't know what's happening with Yuki Tsunoda, man. I don't know if it's a car. I don't know if it's a driver. But he hasn't really shown a lot of anything interesting to us this year, really, You
always have to take a look, though. We've talked about this during a podcast before, is like there's always kind of like one major driver in each team that's like the alpha. So like starting from the top, you've got Hamilton, and then you've got Verstappen, and then you've got Stroll for Aston Martin, because of course it's Stroll's team, right?
Yeah.
Russell for the Williams, Norris for McLaren. I still would say Charles Leclerc for Ferrari. And Haas doesn't have anybody, and I'm not leaving them out, but I still think it might be Mick Schumacher. There's always one person that's like a bit of the alpha that gets a little bit more push towards them, and in AlphaTauri's case, I really think that Gasly has just been that person throughout. Like, he's like the Max Verstappen of AlphaTauri.
Yeah.
And I think that him developing as a driver has just been like very good since he's gotten back from Red Bull.
Random theory, like, do you think they'd swap him and Perez at some point?
I thought that if at one point, maybe had they not kept Perez for this year, but I think Perez is just and as we saw during this race, is just overall like a very strong driver. Like overall, he is capable of pushing forward on the pack more than Gasly is, because Gasly went and won Monza and then got DNF'd to the next race.
I don't know why they didn't do that for this season.
For what? For the next season or for 2021?
No, for 2021.
Because Perez needed a C.
Yeah, but what I would have done is I would have taken Gasly, put him into Red Bull, and then put Perez into AlphaTauri.
I can understand that, but there was something about how Perez or Pierre was like, I'm not too sure if I'd ever want to go back to Red Bull.
Really?
Yeah, there was a whole thing that came out. There was that whole thing. It was on the boards.
I would have done that because Pierre in the AlphaTauri seems to be doing more consistent work than Perez in the Red Bull.
Yeah.
So it's like, in theory...
No. I just think that Pierre would have to be then the beta to Max, which I'm not sure he would want to be, because
I don't think he's as talented as Max Verstappen.
I didn't say he's not as talented
but
as him.
I think he would by default be a beta to him.
But no, I don't think that he would want to be the person that's pushing Max forward. I think he would want
to be like a support driver?
I don't think he wants to be Bottas.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Perez, on the other hand, has in radios been like, yes, we have to do this for the team. If there have been switches, if there's been holding someone off, he knows that he has to prove himself, because Red Bull's like revolving doors, right? They don't keep drivers that don't meet their agenda. Like, Christian Horner is great and all, but he kind of scares me a little bit, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
he's like the mean principal at school.
He's kind of like...
Principal, get it?
So funny. Dad jokes.
Right.
So I see the theories behind why that wouldn't be beneficial, but I understand why you would think it would be.
Yeah.
But I think you're wrong.
I think I'm right. So anyway, on that
note. So starting the race out, I mean, like, Max got a brilliant start, just like right off the line, like, boop.
Yeah.
He was 3 seconds ahead.
Yeah.
I want to hear about what you thought about the tire strategy, because you just tend to talk about tire strategy a lot better than I do.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this on the last podcast too, but Red Bull is, I think they were, and you noticed this on the races last year where Mercedes would just catch them with tire strategy and win the races, and Red Bull would just sit there and do nothing. But now they've started to think about it a lot more. Red Bull started to think like a winning team. Mm-hmm. Not like, they went on the offense, not the defense. Mm-hmm. And since they've started to do that, they found a little bit of an edge that's allowed them to creep a little bit past Mercedes. So they just need to keep that mindset going forward in the following Grand Prix. And I think we will have a new constructors and probably a new world champion by the end of this year. I think it's very much in their grasp.
I think that just the trial and error that we talked about last time really did kind of, it's favoring Red Bull, and it's definitely favoring Max Verstappen. Like, he is, I know he's asleep. I don't know what to do with him right now. I can't take him off.
It's fine. Let's just keep talking.
The biggest thing that I would say, though, is like, Max found a way to keep the gap. And he always keeps his head calm, at least what we hear.
Yeah.
Like, one time during the race, he even asked, he's like, oh, is he complaining? Obviously in reference to, Hamilton. Because his, what is it called? His race engineer kept saying, like, the time difference between him and Hamilton. And he's like, what is he complaining about something? And he's like, I think his tires are gone. And so he keeps Hamilton in the background of his mind, but he doesn't let it drive him or like force him to make like stupid decisions.
Yeah.
And of course,
Hamilton is not living in Verstappen's head rent-free, as they say.
Yeah, that's actually really true.
That's so true. He's not thinking about him like that, which is like a winning mindset. You got to think about yourself. You can't be thinking about everybody else. Think about yourself. Focus on yourself. And that's what he's doing.
Yeah. Hamilton drove a really good race, though, I will say. He drove really well. He was dropped into traffic, found his way back from it. I mean, and then on the opposite note, like, Red Bull reacted really well to a tire change, and that tire change happened to work in Red Bull's favor as well, because it was almost a second difference. It was like 2.6 or 2.7 seconds for Red Bull versus like 3.6 or 3.7 for Hamilton. And I'm like,
But
that's a whole second.
But to what you were saying, even Hamilton in the post race he's like, I just got outraced.
Yeah.
He's like, they were just faster today.
In the beginning of the race, though, he was like, oh, he's just getting really lucky with traffic. And we're all like, no, he's not getting lucky because you've gotten lucky then. Contrarily,
he's gotten lucky when Pirelli like decided to put little balloons on the tires and let Max race
Stroll
on them.
And Max,
and
they all,
it
was terrible.
Like, that wasn't luck, bro. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you can't just say luck. Even navigating traffic through an F1 circuit takes skill.
It does.
That's not luck, dude. Like, that arguably takes more skill.
Which is why, like, I just think that, like, Hamilton did a really good job getting through the traffic. I don't think Bottas does as good of a job as getting through traffic. I'll just be honest with you. I think
Hamilton does a great job too.
No, I said Bottas does not.
No, I'm saying Hamilton does as well.
I know.
I'm not just saying Verstappen
No,
gets lucky.
and that's why I say, like, I think it's so important to, like, recognize them both for just, like, the strengths that they have.
Yeah.
But what I will say is this. I always find it difficult to tell whether or not Hamilton is, like, being honest about his tires versus if he's just, like, complaining about them. And I know that that's something that's been brought up a lot recently with the radio interviews.
Team radio,
But this time I really do think that Hamilton was struggling because he actually did come in for a tire change. And that tire change at the, like, last couple laps of the race, that tire change was so interesting because they pitted Bottas first.
Yes.
And why did they pit Bottas first, Cam? Why did they say?
They said, okay, so they said it was precautionary. According to their data, they said that the tire degradation was like pretty up there. Like the tires were pretty much done. And they just wanted to precautionarily pit Bottas so that nothing would happen to the tires. And even when Bottas came into the pits, he's like, why are we pitting? And they were like, oh, it's a precautionary pit stop due to the tires and this and that and da-da-da. I
didn't catch that when you told me what you thought it was.
Yeah, so what I think was happening was I was just looking at how the gap was lining up and everything with Hamilton and Bottas, and it took them about 20 to 23 or 24 seconds to do the pits, to come into the pit, change the tires, and get back onto the track. It was about a 24-second loss. So had they pit stopped Hamilton first, then Bottas and Hamilton would have been like they would have come out like around the same time, right? And then they would have been battling for the position. And
had the opportunity to battle.
I don't think it was. I think they were lying to him when they said that it was about managing the tires and it was precautionary. I think they purposely pit stopped him so he would go back, and then they would be able to propel Lewis forward and give Lewis second place
without any interaction, competition,
without any racing between both of them.
But the reason that I find this so interesting is because then the following order came that Lewis needed the fastest lap.
Yeah, so they put the new tires on Bottas. Bottas was out there burning rubber, man. He was going sectors. Quick. He was throwing up purple sectors, and then they hit him on the radio, and they're like, oh, like, abort the fastest lap, because they want Lewis to get the fastest lap. And he allegedly did abort it. You know, they said
he still got fastest lap,
he did slow down in the last sector, but he did. I mean, who knows? Maybe, I don't know. We'll never know. Only Bottas and God know what happened really there. If he did abort it, or if he did maybe he was just a little slower. Yeah, I don't know. But he did end up getting fastest lap anyway. Lewis came around and
on the last lap took it away.
Anyway, he was on softs, so it's like, yeah, you're gonna get fastest lap on softs. So, but that was interesting, and like I was saying, like if I was Bottas, I would have just raced as fast and as hard as I could, and been like, he's Lewis Hamilton. He's like the GOAT. He should be able to beat my time.
And this is not just that. It's not just like being about beating the time. It's also like if you want the point for the constructors.
Yeah.
Or if you are literally pushing him as world champion, that's it.
Yeah.
but it makes sense, right? Because
Yeah.
of the news that came out, which we'll get to.
Yeah. So
What else happened in the race? I'm sorry. Let us all go into the original, like my driver of the day, Sergio Perez. Started from 16th,
Sergio.
had a horrible qualifying, and then had a horrible start from like the pit lane. Was attempting to like pass Mazepin, who's just like the bane of my existence in F1. Flat spots like all of his tires, from what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And then comes back
He locked up all his wheels.
in 8th. From 16th to 8th.
I'll be honest. I'm a little tired of hearing this same old song and dance from Perez. He came from like the bottom to this. It's like, bro, don't go into the bottom. Like, stop making dumb
Sometimes it's
mistakes.
not his fault, though.
I know, but it's just like, I don't know, man. Like Sergio, like it's like, dude, the guy is talented. I don't know if it's luck or just like something that's going on there, but it's like he keeps dropping down to the bottom. Like if he started where he should be starting with a Red Bull car.
But there was like a problem with his like engine or his gearbox during quali. Like you can't
what's
just
going on,
I don't know,
dude.
you just can't say that because there have been a lot of things that Christian's even done. Like if he had just started from the bottom on his own accord, he would be where Albon is.
Yeah.
Not in
From the
F1.
bottom of the whole team here.
But do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
If he was actually just messing up,
Yeah, that is
he would
very
be where
true.
Albon is,
I
which
think
is
I'm,
not
I
here.
think I'm just like kind of like I wish he would just. I would love to see him just be performing like. And
Welcome to
getting,
my life with Daniel Ricciardo.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Welcome to my life with Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, Daniel Ricciardo.
We still love him. I would hang out with the Honey Badger any day.
What about Lando Norris, your boy?
He is putting in work. He just had a rough weekend.
Yeah, he had a bit of a rough weekend.
He had I mean, but you can't. He was third. He was third in the championship until today.
Yeah.
Like you cannot fault Lando Norris. Like
Yeah.
he lost it during the post race interviews. Like he just had a giggle fest. I think he's so funny. But yeah, I know you're kind of frustrated with the song and dance for Perez, but I have to give him a lot of credit.
It's just frustrating. Like to see him do that is amazing. But dude, like come on. Like we got to get you further up on the grid when you start and we got to keep you there.
It's his fault.
I
Like
know,
it's
but,
not.
But locking up all 4 tires
Okay,
is his
that one
fault.
was
That's
one time it's
ridiculous.
his fault.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Getting a little frustrated with Perez over here.
Hey, I guess we're just all about Max Verstappen. We're just Max and nobody else. We're just all about the double Dutchman. But yeah, what else happened during the race? Vettel, poor Vettel. Vettel like spun out a little bit going around a corner, and then Bottas almost like followed him around that corner, but just narrowly missed him. So that kind of just was like an interesting side thing.
Yeah.
Russell like did not finish. Russell just had a poor weekend, like all around. Like
From a super high to super low.
yeah.
But
I actually told you I was going to mention this.
what?
If you're going to talk about consistencies and inconsistencies, then you got to talk about George Russell too.
Yeah. I mean Williams though, you know. It's a little easier to be consistent when you're in a Mercedes.
I mean, if you've
Or a
showed
Red Bull.
flashes of greatness, then you should consistently show them.
I don't know. I mean, like I was saying, I still got to look into like how and why he did so well
During Spa.
in Spa. And
Probably.
like we were talking about, it's like an asterisk with rain,
Yeah.
right? Rain can. What do you got to when you're at the bottom? What do you got to lose?
Yeah.
Go all out. Who cares if the car spins or goes into the wall? Like not saying he'd like hurt himself or anything, but like. Maybe he was just because he's like, screw it, I'm on the bottom, I got nothing to lose, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
He just went for it. But as it stands, everything ended up, we finished with Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas, Gasly in 4th, Leclerc, Fernando Alonso
did amazing.
Sainz, Perez, Ocon, and Norris in 10th, and then Ricciardo behind him.
I think Alonso was also like, I actually read about this, like one of the commentators said that like he was his driver of the day. Like Alonso is showing a lot more consistency as well. He really is in Alpine, which is shocking to me. Like Ocon and Alonso are just like so, I just can't comprehend Alpine sometimes. But he's also showing like a lot more consistency in driver development in Alpine, and I think that the work is starting to pay off for him. I see him in the middle to the upper portion of the grid, which I think I really enjoy seeing, because it would have been really horrible if he came back into F1 and it was just like flat. Like, he's doing well. Like, he is doing well. He's kicking a lot of people's butts. Ferrari, I think, is like kind of getting a little lost. Like, they did a lot better than the McLarens. Like, they got more points than the McLarens, which I think the McLarens got shut out of P3 in the constructors. I think they're down to 4th again, and I think Ferrari might be. Do you mind checking the constructors for me?
Yeah, I'll check constructors. Ferrari's been doing really well.
They did consistently well. Which was really interesting to see. I mean, I feel like I'm not hearing as much about Leclerc and Sainz, and so that always gets me a little nervous when I stop hearing about them.
I think we're going to see, a Ferrari resurgence next year.
Yeah.
So, as a constructor stand, it's Mercedes with 344.5.
0.5.
Red Bull with 332.5, so they're 12 behind. And then Ferrari is in third with 181. McLaren is 170.
So about 11.5 points McLaren is behind. So it's really going to be interesting to see, because, Norris was putting in work. I mean, he was P3. He was in the third of the Constructors' Championship behind or in front of Bottas. Bottas has just like edged him out by a few points this time. So it's like, this is the closest that I've seen it happen in the last couple years.
Yeah.
Usually it's like a Mercedes lockout, right?
And the thing is, Red Bull is not going to get up there in constructors without Sergio Perez.
Which is why they need
him to like start putting up numbers if they want to take constructors. Verstappen could win, drivers' championship, but they're not going to get constructors without. And that's the thing. Bottas is a great, he gets Mercedes into second place.
Yeah.
He gets into second place, and he puts Mercedes on the top for the constructors.
Cam, you also got to remember though, he's 5th right now, Perez, in like the driver championship. Yeah, he's 5th. He's got 108 points. He's only 6 points behind Lando Norris.
Damn.
And again,
Where's Bottas on that?
Bottas is now in second. So it goes right now. It is Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas, Norris, Perez, and then we got Leclerc and Sainz, who are just edging each other out by 3 points. The interesting part of that the reason I'm like kind of supporting Perez, I'm trying to focus that in, is Perez is a new driver to Red Bull, and he is 5th in the standings. Lando Norris has been with McLaren.
Yeah.
So even despite DNFs, even despite starting from the bottom, he's 5th he's beat out Leclerc, who's been with Ferrari. He's beating out Sainz. He's beating out Gasly. He's beating out Ricciardo. He's beating out Alonso. The rest of the team, I don't really think actually matters that much. But, that's just pretty amazing. So I feel like we need to give him a lot of credit for that. It was really nice to see Max win in his home Grand Prix. He's one of He's one of 4 drivers on the current grid who have won in their home Grand Prix.
Oh, that's interesting.
Hamilton, Vettel, Alonso, Verstappen.
That's cool.
Pretty cool, right? It was really nice to see the camaraderie up there as well. I know everybody was I know even we talked about it in the podcast, getting really bent out of shape about what was going on between Max and Lewis, but they seemed to really put it behind them. Max more so.
Even in qualies and stuff,
Yeah.
when they finish, or even when they finish races, they fist bump and stuff. But even Max said it at one point. He's like, I'm tired of talking about this.
Yeah.
Like the whole Silverstone thing. Which was really eye-opening. It was like, oh, wow, yeah, we're the ones making a big deal out of it.
Yep.
They're over it. And it ran through the F1 cycle, and it was gone. And that was it. Now we're on to just focusing on racing.
Put our head down and race. And it was nice because, you saw, Bottas and Hamilton both, throw champagne over his head. And, Tiesto was there. And, Max got his, home Grand Prix anthem sung to him. That was interesting. The royal family was there. It was really cool to see. I think that meant a lot to him overall to take that home.
Yeah. So that was a race. Great race.
And then,
fun to watch. And so the race happened and everything. And we had, I woke up, what was it? It's today, right? Today's Monday, right? Mm-hmm. So, after the race and everything happened, so some of the news that came out like during the race was that Kimi Räikkönen was retiring from Alfa Romeo. And, that obviously leaves an open seat. And we have a lot of drivers who are like the F1 driver thing is constantly shifting. And the news that came out this morning, I woke up and I looked at my phone, is that Valtteri Bottas has signed with Alfa Romeo on a multi-year contract.
Who called it? Just
No,
quickly.
you called it. You were
Thank
like
you.
straight up. Bria said the other. I don't know. No, after the Kimi news came out, she's like,
No, it was
Valtteri.
before Kimi. It was before Kimi came out. I was like,
No, it was when they announced Kimi Räikkönen was retiring. You said Valtteri's gonna take a seat.
I knew that Russell was taking Mercedes like forever ago, though. We
Yeah.
just knew that Bottas was going to end up somewhere else. Like, I knew he was going to end up. I'm still specific. I called it Aston Martin, but Alfa Romeo, excuse me. But anyways,
Yeah, so Bria called it that Valtteri was gonna head to Alfa Romeo, and that's exactly what happened. So the way it looks now, and I was reading about this, they said that Valtteri, before even talking to Mercedes, he went and spoke to Alfa as well as which other team? Williams. And didn't even talk to Mercedes and just signed a deal with Alfa Romeo after Kimi announced that he was retiring. So kind of just goes to show, but I'm not mad at the guy, to be honest. Like, we've talked about it extensively as to how we feel he gets treated by Mercedes and everything, and I think it's pretty blatant and pretty out there. So he's
why didn't he just take the fastest lap then? Screw Mercedes.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got the rest of the
I know.
season to kind of deal with right now. So he's heading to Alpha. Mercedes seat is open. It will be open next year for a new driver. This is like confirmed.
George Russell.
And
It's
it
closed.
seems like we're expecting George Russell to hop in that Mercedes seat.
It's going to be
And
so
then
wild.
We are also going to have, the thing is, you're going to have an open seat in Williams. And because this is not like a driver, like Kimi Räikkönen is leaving. So it's like there's room for a new driver. And I'm wondering, I mean, there's going to be, I think over the next few races, we're going to hear and see. We gotta I want to listen to practice because they're gonna talk about it.
Well, so there's you missed a couple things. So one, Albon has been a name that's been floated out a couple times.
Yeah.
Two, there are 3 F2 drivers, I believe, whose names are being floated out to go into Williams because at the end of the day, they are like developing these young drivers. It's,
Yeah.
Latifi is new. George Russell's been obviously around for a little while, and he's Mr. Saturday and now going to be going into Mercedes, which still blows my mind. But like,
That's exciting.
there's going to be either an F2 driver or Albon who's going to take
What
that
if
spot.
what if Russell starts? What if he starts outperforming
I think he will.
Lewis?
I think he
Wow.
will. And I think the way that it's going to end is that Lewis is going to drop down and it's going to be like,
The Lewis era will end.
yep.
I think we could see it end this year if Max gets it. But
From your lips to God's ears.
I think it's so possible that this could cause a domino effect of drivers. Like you could see, like, George Russell leaves Williams, goes up to Mercedes. Maybe this whole Perez Gasly thing, that switch happens. Who knows who's going into Williams, and then like who replaces that seat, and like we could see a huge shift of drivers like all over the place.
You know what
because of this.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's a very like. I think it's very likely we'll see that because you're going to have Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, like arguably, like, and when you're talking about top 5 most talented drivers, arguably like 2 of the guys who are in that pool of most talented drivers are about to go into one of the most powerful cars on the grid. And the rest of them, like if you think about it from a Red Bull standpoint, you got your boy Verstappen. You need a solid driver to compete. And they're going to feel that way even more so if Verstappen ends up taking constructors.
Yeah.
Or,
The
if
championship.
the drivers and maybe even the constructors, Red Bull's going to want to hold on to that. So they're going to want to make sure that their second driver is somebody who is super legit.
I
and is
really
going to.
think that Perez is going to fit
What
that
if we've
because
seen a return of Daniel Ricciardo to Red Bull? Ooh!
oh, I don't think that'll ever happen.
That'd be so sick,
I don't think
though.
that'll ever happen.
No?
It would be amazing. I don't think that'll ever happen.
That'd be so sick.
I like count the day, put the hour, he even opened up his eyes, put the hour down. It might, but I would be
You'd
surprised.
be shocked.
I'd be shocked because of the way that he left. It's like no loyalty, man, for the team.
Yeah. I think we may see that Gasly, Perez, like, switch up, to be honest.
It's possible.
I don't see why they wouldn't do it.
It's very possible.
Like, why wouldn't they do that?
Because I think Perez is doing what he needs to do right now. He's above Gasly in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what you have to remember.
I don't know. It's going to be an interesting thing, but I mean, we're just going to continue to follow this news because it's like really, it's
Riveting.
Interesting.
You know, the other thing I'm thinking is like, how many teams are really going to make it through next year? Like, there may be evolution of a new team, and Haas might not be here.
Yeah.
It's possible. It could happen.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens, Milo.
I love this dog. He's the greatest.
Well, with that,
Milo, you are the greatest podcast co-host ever. I like his ideas and his insights.
he has great ideas. You have no
I
idea.
got your ear.
He's the best.
I got your ear, buddy.
He literally was sleeping long
I got your
enough
face.
for us to like do our podcast. What a good boy.
He's so good. This dog's amazing.
Milo, you got any other insights? You think Russell's going into Mercedes? Yeah?
You want a Red Bull jersey, puppy? Should we give you a Red Bull
Yes,
jersey?
please someone tell me where I can get
Can we get you
a
Red Bull
teeny
jersey?
tiny little
Or
bitty.
can somebody, maybe we can find one on like Etsy, like a custom one.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it. I'm excited for next week, which Cam's missing.
I'm gonna be working.
So we are
I'm gonna
going
be on the
to
West Coast. I'm gonna watch the race though.
We're gonna go to Italy. I'm so
Like
excited.
not personally, like F1 is.
No, F1's
I would
coming to
love
Italy.
go,
I cannot pronounce. I'm just gonna call it Heineken. Heineken
What?
Grand Premiere.
What?
Premio?
When?
It's next weekend. It's in 3 days.
Premio d'Italia.
3 days, 12 hours, and 21
Premio
minutes.
d'Italia.
What a fun time.
Yeah.
September 10th through the 12th. And
Oh damn! Sprint quali.
then, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I just saw it at the same time, September 11th. Oh, we got stuff to talk about. Sprint quali is going to happen on September 11th.
Italy is gonna be a sprint quali.
Oh,
that
my
is so
God.
lit. What am I doing?
Saturday.
Damn, what am I doing?
Oh, yeah. So quali's on the 10th then, Cam. Quali's on the 10th.
Oh, that's sick.
Sprint quali's on the 11th. Races on the 12th. I can't believe you're
I'm gonna
missing that
miss.
weekend.
I'm gonna miss quali. I'm gonna miss quali. I'll see sprint quali though,
But you'll watch it
and then
again.
I'll
You'll
see
watch
the,
it.
the race. I don't know. I'll see.
So our next podcast, guys, probably will it will happen after the next race, but it'll probably be up on that Thursday, so before the weekend.
Yeah.
Cam's flying back during midweek, so we will get the podcast out ASAP, and we can't wait to see you all then.
So, thanks everybody for listening. Make sure you're subscribed on Spotify, YouTube, and also follow us on Instagram at F1 My Life Podcast. No periods, underscores, or anything. And
I'm like, oh, insert it here where my fingers are.
thank you for listening, and we will catch y'all on the next one.
Bye. Say bye. He's like, can I eat now? It's dinner time. We'll feed you. I'm sorry.
We'll feed you, pup.